From Lagos, the nation's commercial capital, this is the news at 10, live from Channels Television. Reporting tonight, Amarachi Kubari.
Good evening and welcome. Tonight, Nelson Mandela, revered as statesman and anti-apartheid leader, buried at his hometown in Kunu in South Africa. World leaders bid final farewell to the continent's greatest freedom fighter as his coffin is lowered after a traditional funeral rite. APC calls for the president's impeachment. Dr. Goodluck Jonathan says the action is treasonable. And the Nigeria Medical Association directs its members to down tools from Wednesday. Former South African President Nelson Mandela has finally been laid to rest in his ancestral home, Kunu. Earlier today, a funeral ceremony was held to which more than 4,500 people attended. Since he passed away, many have paid their respects in glorious tributes. Thousands more made it to the three-day line-in state at the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Today's ceremony marks the final day of burial rites for the late leader.
Of spirit of endurance, forgiveness.
A somber mood fills the marquee, where about 4,500 people from across the world have come to say a final goodbye to the late former South African President Nelson Mandela.
And to you, Mama Graça Machel,
his widow, Graça Machel, and former wife, Winnie, each sitting on either side of President Jacob Zuma, wore long faces mirroring their grief.
Was arrested for illegally
Devoid of the dancing and celebrations that characterized the memorial on Tuesday, the service was one of reflection as each speaker gave more personal accounts of his life.
This is his famous statement from the dock made in 1964. I have fought against white domination, and I have fought against black domination. I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal which I hope to live for and to achieve, but if needs be, it is an ideal I am prepared to die.
It is no more in terms of life, it is no more in terms of this life, that is still Madiba, our leader. It's Madiba sent to us by God, our Creator. Madiba sent to us to come and teach us how to fight racism to the best of our ability. Let us remember this love he had for us all. Without that, we can't succeed.
African leaders allowed to speak pay tribute to his efforts at unifying the region and the rest of Africa, while urging President Jacob Zuma to continue the work started by the late leader.
the SADC region will remember him for his wisdom and statesmanship, his humility and sense of humor, and his servant leadership style. Tata Madiba believed that all people are created equal before God. The way he conducted himself, he saw no boundaries in this region, between and among the countries where we live.
We see eye to eye on many bilateral, regional and international issues. We support each other at regional and international fora. Comrades, it is none other than our founding father, First President Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, and the founding father of the new South Africa, President Nelson Mandela, who are responsible for this friendship and cooperation. They built very strong foundations for our bilateral relations. That is why I said at the beginning that Madiba is very much our leader, our hero, our icon, and our father as he is to you.
Escorted by the armed forces, the caskets later made its way to Kunu, Mr. Mandela's ancestral home, where it was interred, following traditional rites by the Thembu tribe. Only 450 select guests made up of family, the president, the military, former heads of state, and those serving were allowed to witness this part of the ceremony. Well, one man the world hopes will continue in Mr. Mandela's steps is President Jacob Zuma. And he told the gathering at Kunu that he will not fail to build on the virtues of integrity, peace, unity and selfless service, which Mr. Mandela symbolizes. He says South Africa would certainly miss the great icon, but that his government will treat every South African with respect. President Zuma began his speech by singing one of Mr. Mandela's favorite songs.
Today marks the end of an extraordinary journey that began 95 years ago. It is the end of 95 glorious years of a freedom fighter, a dedicated and humble servant of the people of South Africa, a fountain of wisdom, a pillar of strength, and a beacon of hope to all those fighting for a just and equitable world order. We are truly honored to be part of the final journey of this great son of our country and the founding president of a free and democratic South Africa, Isithwalandwe Siapalangwe, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. Over the past 9 days of mourning, people have expressed their grief in various ways. What truly stands out is the spectacular display of admiration by the thousands who descended upon the Union buildings in Pretoria to spend just one moment with you as you lay in state. As you observed the long, patient queues lining the streets to the Union buildings, some silent, some singing, many crying, we asked ourselves, what is it about this man that elicits this outpouring of sincere emotions? The answer is that when people see goodness in a person, they respond by reflecting goodness back at that person.
South African President Jacob Zuma at today's funeral ceremony. For many, the life of Nelson Mandela is a reminder of unity and a source of motivation and inspiration for justice, freedom and struggle. His longest living friend and prison mate at Robben Island, Ahmed Kathrada, and one of his grandchildren, Nandi Mandela, eulogized the man who became the president of South Africa after 27 years in jail. At Robben Island, he was described as a champion of liberation and justice.
We are a country that has been blessed by many great and remarkable men and women, all of whom have played a critical role in the liberation of our country. We have been blessed by the contribution of the many different movements and formations, both inside and outside the country, who stood by us in the dark days of apartheid. We have been blessed by a struggle that actively involved the masses of the people in our country. We have been blessed by the ANC that under its collective leadership rose to the forefront in our struggle for freedom, proclaiming proudly South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. For all this and more, we are deeply grateful to Madiba. We are deeply grateful that today we live in a lively democracy. We are deeply grateful that dignity has been restored to all South Africans. We are deeply grateful that the lives of tens of thousands of people have and continue to be improving. We are deeply grateful for a constitution that encompasses all that is good in us and a constitutional court that protects our hard-won freedom. We are deeply grateful to the Chapter 9 institutions which jealously guards our constitutional democracy.
We shall miss you, Tatomkhulu. We shall miss your stern voice when you were not pleased with our behavior. We shall miss your voice as you told us stories of your childhood. We shall miss your laughter. We'll carry lessons you taught us throughout our lives as we make you proud. As South Africans, we must stop pointing fingers, but rather we must live by example as you did and do something positive for South Africa.